Have you ever watched a movie and thought, no, this scene looks too real to be acting? Remember that saying that if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So don't be shocked to realize that some of these reactions are completely real, just to give their audience an unfiltered experience. Today we look at some of the most impressive ones from superstars like Meryl Streep and Leonardo DiCaprio. Sit tight as we explore scenes where actors weren't actually acting. But first, a simple reminder on how to enter our brand new giveaway. We're giving away either an iPhone X Max, the new iPad mini, or a MacBook Pro. It's all your choice. So be sure to leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter the giveaway. It's really that simple. Django Unchained. In this movie that keeps you on the edge of your seats from start to finish, we follow the story of the slave, Django, who was on a mission to capture the Brittle brothers. Finally, they came in contact with Calvin, who still has Django's wife as his slave. Quentin Tarantino took us on a western journey on slavery, and these characters were on set for several months without losing their script. They were so committed to their roles that Leonardo DiCaprio, who played the role of Calvin, had a moment where he was actually not acting and still didn't break character. If you've ever watched this movie, then you remember the tension-packed scene where Calvin was giving a speech. It was so intense that he slammed his hands on the table and later smashed the glass with his hand. However, that wasn't supposed to be part of the scene, and his hand cut open instantly. While DiCaprio was bleeding from his fingers, any other actor would have winced in pain and then tried to take care of the wound, but not this amazing actor. Instead, he spread the blood everywhere and even went as far as rubbing the blood over the face of Django's long-lost wife, played by Kerry Washington. You can see the look of disgust on her face, and we're willing to bet that that was real as well. You have to applaud their commitment to their roles.
Hey! Lay your palms flat on that tabletop! If you lift those palms off that turtle shell tabletop, Mr. Pooch is gonna let loose with both barrels that sawed off.
Up next is Pretty Woman. Pretty Woman is the fairy tale except for Beauty, and the Beast in this case, was a prostitute and wealthy businessman. These two fell hard for each other, despite how unlikely this pair was in every way. The fact that they had so many hurdles to overcome as they were from different worlds made this movie in the realm of blockbusters. However, what was even more notable was Julia Roberts' role as the hooker. She portrayed her character so well as one with a heart of gold that people just can't get enough of this movie. But there's something a lot of people don't know about this movie, and that was the scene where Julia was not actually acting. This was during her infamous cackle scene. Take a moment to check back to some of the scenes where she's laughing, and you'll see that the laughter was actually 100% real. The first scene was when she was genuinely surprised when Richard Gere got her a beautiful necklace, but just as she was about to pick it up from its beautiful case, he snapped the lid shut. This wasn't part of the script and totally unexpected. So was Julia's reaction. After jerking back for an instant, she let out a laugh that she is famous for today. It was a classic moment that the directors decided to keep in the final cut. Up next is Home Alone. Who can forget the classic Home Alone movie where Kevin McAllister gave the performance of a lifetime? We followed the story of a young boy who always seems to find himself alone during important holidays and is left with creative means to keep the burglars out. It was always exciting to see how much he tortured both Harry and Marv. However, in one of the scenes, Joe got a little too excited when he hung the young boy on the back of the door. While they were issuing threats, he got a little too into his vengeful character and a bit hard on Kevin's finger. The twist is that it was really painful. In fact, so painful that the scar is still on Kevin's finger today. However, during that particular scene, the young star screamed in real pain and continued in character like it was all part of the script.
One of these little fingers, one at a time.
Up next is Alien. From the title of the movie, you can tell that it's a sci-fi movie that would leave quite an impression. It did for millions of people who watched it with some of its really scary scenes. The story talks about the crew of the Nostromo that was halfway home but awakened from their cryo sleep capsules to deal with an alien vessel. This quickly took a scary turn when they found a nest of eggs on the alien ship, and one attached itself to one of the crew. While watching this movie, there is one feeling you will quickly get familiar with: fear. This was cleverly portrayed by the actors themselves, that the fear seemed too real to be acting, and it really was. The directors of the movie decided that it was best for none of the actors to be aware of what would happen during the chestburster scene. Several of the cast members were gathered around an unconscious colleague and were scared out of their wits when an alien creature burst out of the astronaut's stomach. None of them were prepared for a scene with blood and guts splashed everywhere, and you could see it on their faces. Pure, undiluted terror. This classic moment remains unforgettable for a lot of people who love the reactions of the characters. Up next is The Blair Witch Project. The fact that this movie is said to be based on a real-life story gives it a scarier feel, and the actors did try hard to get that reaction from the audience. It's all about three film students who left for a little village in search of documentary footage on the Blair Witch. Well, you know how the story goes. These students got a lot of clues that would support the storyline, but sadly lost their way in the woods. This was the beginning of the horror story, for both the fictional characters and the real-life actors. This film was shot on an ultra-low budget, which actually left the actors feeling stranded in the woods. With very few crew members around and a lot of isolation while shooting, it wasn't difficult to get them deeply involved in their roles. The filmmakers even went as far as putting a lot of psychological stress on them to get them anxious enough. From creating scares to shaking their tents, every look of anger and anxiety on their face during the nighttime camping scenes was 100% real. They weren't acting out of their frightful experience in the woods. Up next is The Wolf of Wall Street. Once again, we see Leonardo DiCaprio in action. This time, he dazzles our screens as Jordan Belfort, who takes an entry-level job at a brokerage firm on Wall Street. He finally found his own firm and made a huge fortune defrauding hundreds of wealthy investors, until he finally fell into the hands of the FBI and the SEC. In this breathtaking movie, we got to watch DiCaprio alongside Matthew McConaughey. These are both excellent actors by their own rights, and Matthew owned his role as Mark Hanna. What really caught the audience's attention was the meditation chant scene, one of the most memorable ones in the entire movie. Apparently, this was an actual process that Matthew would engage in anytime he wanted to calm himself down. It was definitely a hit, as he won the Academy Award for Best Actor in 2014, thanks to his role in this movie, and several more unforgettable performances. We do love actors that take their character seriously. Come on. Up next is Kramer vs. Kramer. This film may have been released in 1979, but more than 3 decades later, we still have a strong reaction to a lot of its scenes. This movie tells a fascinating story of Ted Kramer, an advertising executive that got the biggest account of his career on the same day that his wife was leaving. Left to raise his young son Billy alone, Ted lost his job and then forged a better relationship with his child, thanks to Margaret, another single parent. This quickly turns messy when his wife Joanna goes into a court battle with him to claim custody of Billy. Many fans still find it difficult to watch the child custody and divorce battle because of how amazingly well Dustin Hoffman and Meryl Streep played their roles. However, we didn't get the ending that the filmmakers and directors planned, as they decided to go for a more natural ending. At the end of the movie, the two stars were having a real-life conversation, except they didn't realize that they were still on camera. Dustin had told Meryl that she looked terrific, but this was made up to look like the two were just talking. And this marked the close of the movie.
How do I look?
Terrific.
Up next, Die Hard. There's a definite chance you've seen the movie Die Hard, which shows us the heroic feat of John McClane, a policeman in New York City who went home to his estranged wife and daughters for Christmas Eve celebrations. However, things quickly took a turn for the worst when a group of terrorists took over the holiday party she was holding at the headquarters of the Japanese-owned business that handles her paycheck. When McClane saw that no one else would be able to save the hostages, he quickly went to the rescue. Here, we see undiluted action scenes that were both intense and crazy. But one scene that won't leave our minds easily involves both Alan Rickman and Bruce Willis, who played John McClane. In this scene, Alan was meant to fall to his death from the top of the skyscraper, but you can see that there is a genuine look of betrayal on his face. Why? Turns out that the stuntman had played a fast one on him. He was meant to drop on the count of 3, but they released him earlier than he expected. So, we have Alan Rickman falling to the ground with a face full of shock, panic, and then betrayal. They were ready to take the notch higher just to get the real reaction from Alan Rickman, and it looked like it worked.
That's not a hostage.
So what did you think about these scenes? Which ones are your favorite? And which scenes didn't look real enough for you? We would love to know if you had other movies you watched that had scenes where the actors weren't acting and blew your mind. Let us know in the comments. And that's a wrap. Thanks for watching.